Good day, ladies and gents. We are going to be continuing Unit 7 right triangles. We are on day 4. We're going to do a warm up on special combos, and we are going to continue our journey with trigonometry. So, this is going to be a guided practice. So, we're only going to be doing a couple of steps, which is HOA. We're going to label those. You're going to learn how to plug in, and then you're going to learn how to solve. And later on a different day, you're going to learn how to use a calculator. But right now, we just want to get this nice and solid in your brain. And then on top of that, let's go ahead and talk about this. As of so far, these are the pages we've dealt with. So we finished these on day 1, these on day 2, and these pages on day 3. So today we're going to be working on page 7. That's what we're starting with. We're going to be working on these pages. We're not going to be finishing them all, but at least we'll be tackling a good number of steps in those. Fabulous. All right, so everyone, we are going to go to page 7. Everyone go to page 7. So we're on page 7. So on page 7, we are looking at number 7. So page 7, number 7. All right. Before we even start these problems, the first thing you definitely want to do is make a protective barrier around this, because we're going to have a lot of work, and we don't want the work to blend into our final beautiful answers. So let's make a nice protective barrier around this and also around our final answers. So let's do that first. And you know what, while we're at it, let's go ahead and do the same thing to 8. Nice protective barrier around this and around our final answers. So that gives us nice little blocks of space for work. And you can do that for every single problem if you like. And I'll zoom out so you can see that. I'm just making protective barriers around all of these just to keep us nice and safe. So we can do all this work and we won't accidentally think that our answer up here goes with Z, because it has nothing to do with it. So we're just going to make nice protective barriers around our around our final answers and our answer keys. So perfect. All right, so I made a protective barrier around all of those. Pretty simple, right? Okay, so let's go to number 7. So on number 7, we need to decide which one are we going to do first. Are we going to do the top one or the bottom one? Which one do you think, if you had to guess, which one do you think you're going to do first? Top or bottom? Okay, you should have chosen the top. Now, why are you going to choose the top? Okay, the reason you're going to do the top is because there's a number with it. Not the 45 and 30. We don't care about those. Well, we will later, but to decide which triangle we do first, we want the one with the side length, and that's the one with the side length. So we're going to do this top one first. So I'm going to draw a nice miniature version of it over here. It should look exactly the same. So we're going to only put the angles, which is 30, and the other angle would automatically have to be 60 to complete the 180 degrees, and the side number. So now, with our hot topics, let's follow our steps. Step number 1, ignore your variables. Perfect. We just did that because we didn't even bother writing them down. Okay, step number 2. Step number 2 is label. So we're going to label this picture. Now, this is a 30, 60, 90, right? So it's a 30, 60, 90. On a 30, 60, 90, we know that it folds out. Between the 30 and 90 is where the fold. Here's 30, here's 90. So here's the fold. So that would have to be x radical 3. The other two sides are x and 2x. The shorter side is x. The longer side is 2x. So here's the shorter side, and that's between 60 and 90. That would be x. You either write it above or below, never next to it. And the longer side is 2x. All right, sweet. Okay, then your next step is solve for x. Set the side number equal to what you labeled as. So what's the side number? The side number was 9, and we're going to do this way far away from this triangle as we possibly can. So this is 9 equals, what was it labeled as? We labeled it as x. And then you solve. So If we had to solve like this one, we would divide by radical 2 and keep solving. But in this case, x already by itself, so we're actually done with that part. That was nice. Okay, fabulous. All right, so step number 3, we solve for x. Step number 4, plug in. Everywhere we see this red x, we're going to plug in a 9. So if I plug it back in here, it goes right back to normal. If it didn't, I know I messed up somewhere. All right, here would be 2 times whatever x was. So if you look at my steps here for plugging it in, see, plug in, and here's some examples. So I have the label, and then I put parentheses instead of the x. Then I plug it in, whatever x may be, and then you just simplify. Same thing here. I put in parentheses where x is, and I plug in whatever I got for x, and I clean it up. All right, so in this case, it'll be 2 times whatever x was. And what was x? Oh, it was 9. And what's 2 times 9? 18. So that's that side length. And over here, it's whatever x is times radical 3. And what was x? A 9. And the prettier way to write that is 9 radical 3. So now that we have all 3 sides, we're going to put it back into our pretty picture. These sides right here are 9. Excellent. We already have that one. These sides right here, this side is 18. You write it above or below, never next to it. And then this side was 9 radical 3. So 9 radical 3. Fabulous. Okay, reset. So all this hodgepodge of crazy goes away. And isn't that nice and pretty? This was crazy. That is pretty. Sweet. All right, let's go to this next part right here. So we found this top part. Now we have to do the bottom part. So I'm going to draw a miniature version of this right here. I'm trying to make it look exactly as close to exactly as I can. So this is 45 here. We put the angles. So that's 45, and the missing angle would have to be 45 to complete the 180. And we put the side length. That was x. That was y. I don't want those. 9 radical 3. That was 9 radical 3 right here. 9 radical 3. And now we just do our steps again, right? So I'll zoom in here. Okay, so step 1. Step one, we're ignoring our variables. Perfect. We did. We didn't even bother putting them in there. Step number 2, label. So this is a 45, 45, 90. So on a 45, 45, 90. All right, so on the 45, 45, 90, you put your finger on the 90 degrees. We have x and x. So here's 90 degrees. So this is x. This is x. And the other side is x radical 2. So between 45 and 45, this is x radical 2, not 3, x radical 2. So we have that. All right. Step number 3. It says solve for x. Set the side number equal to what you labeled as. So our side number was 9 radical 3 is equal to, what did we label it as? X radical 2. Interesting. Now just solve. So 9 radical 3 equals x radical 2. We're going to divide both sides by radical 2. So I just rewrote it again so you can follow my steps in case you blinked and you missed it. So the radical 2's cross out. And then over here, radical 3 and radical 2, they don't cross out. We're stuck with them. Well, how are we going to get rid of that? We can't have a radical in the bottom. Now, here are some examples. So we have examples here. So here's a good example of what we're talking about. This kind of looks like what we're doing here. So you copy, paste, erase. You're going to move the radical to the top, and you leave the number behind. And then remember, whole numbers go with whole numbers, and radicals go with radicals. If I could divide like 12 and 3 and make it a 4, I would, but 3 and 5 don't do that. And if you can combine the radicals, 2 and 5 make a 10, you would. All right, so here, I move this to the top. 9, radical 3 is still there. We move the radical 2 to the top, and you leave the number behind. All right, 9 over 2 we're stuck with. And I ran out of room, so I'll put it over here. So 9 over 2 is still there. And 3 times 2 is 6. And that's as pretty as it gets. All right, so our x was this ugly, ugly fraction. But it's as clean as it's going to get, so let's leave it. So this would be 9 radical 6 over 2 for x. And this is 9 radical 6 over 2 for x. And if I put it in here, let's just assume it would go right back to normal. It does, but I'm not going to show you because we just want to move on. So this go right back to 9 radical 3. All right, so now we have this hodgepodge of crazy. We're going to take these three things, which was the whole point of this, and put it back into the picture. So this side is still 9 radical 3. This side right here is 9 radical 6 over 2. And this side right here is also 9 radical 6 over 2. And notice I put a little equal sign because it's next to it. All right, so we have all this crazy stuff that we don't care about anymore. If we just cover those up, all we care about are these right here. That's pretty. All right, so your final step, match up your side lengths to the ignored variables. So this side was a black x. This side also equaled 9 radical 6 over 2. This side was a black y. This side also equaled 9 radical 6 over 2. And this side was a black z. This side also equaled 18. All right. So please notice that this red x and this red x, they don't match each other. And this black x doesn't match this red x. It just happens to match this red x. But that's why we ignored them in the beginning, because they're not always the same. So just ignore them. All right. So now you have a nice refresher of this. Now it's your turn. We're going to go ahead and start doing this yourself. I'm going to do one problem each day, and you're going to do a problem each day. And we're just going to see how much better you do every single day. So here we go. All right. So we're on page 7, number 8. So first of all, which equation are you going to do first? Sorry, which triangle? Is it the left one or the right one? Which one would you decide to do first? Is it the left one or the right one? You should have chose the left one. Now, why did we choose the left one? Because it had a side length. It had a side number, whichever one you said. So we're going to do this one first. So I'm going to draw right here. This is x. Oh, sorry. All we want are our angles. So 60, 90, and this angle would have to be 30. And we want the side length, which was 7 radical 3. So we don't want the variables. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to take this. We're going to pause the video. And I want you, on number 8, I want you to find the side lengths for this. So label it just like this right here, the x radical 3 and the 2x. So put this on here, solve for x. Please pause the video and find those side lengths. Okay, you guys should have found these side lengths. So let's see what happened. So I'll zoom in. Okay, step 1, ignore your variables. Did that. Step 2, label. All right, so between 30 and 90, that's where the fold is. So this is x radical 3. Then we had this side right here. This would be the long side. This is the short side. So this is x and this is 2x. So hopefully you labeled that correctly. All right, so we got the labels now. So now we're going to do step 3, solve for x. So solve for x. So we have 7 radical 3 is equal to x. Then you are going to plug that in. That's step 4, plug that in. So this go back to 7 radical 3. This would be 7, whatever x is, times radical 3. Now what was x? That was 7 radical 3. So that's 7 was radical 3 times radical 3, radical 9. 7 times 3, because radical 9 is 3, right? And 7 times 3 is 21. So this side right here was 21. Okay, and then this side right here, this is 2 times whatever that was, right? So that is 2 times 7 radical 3, which is 14 radical 3. All right, so that's a collage of crazy, right? All right, so we're going to take these 3 sides and plug it back into our picture. So this right here is still 7 radical 3. This right here is 14 radical 3. And this side right here is 21. Now, please remember, if you went to another teacher or watched a YouTube video and you found a way that works better for you, go for it. As long as you have some work, I'm happy. I am not the only way to do this. So feel free to go find another way to do this. If you like it, have at it. All right, so now that we have this, we get to ignore these because that was crazy. Okay, so now let's go to this part. We're going to do the other triangle now. So let's go ahead and draw that. So this is 90. We want to put the angles. Here's 30. So the missing angle would have to be 60 to complete the 180. And then what was the side length? What was the side number on here? That's a Z, that's a Y. We don't want those. 21. So here's 21. So now you're going to take this one, and I want you to, for number 7, take this triangle right here, and I want you to find the side lengths. So label, solve, and plug in. So I want you to do all those steps. So pause and go ahead and do that one, or at least give it a try. All right, so you guys should have done this. Give that a try. Let's see how you guys did. And it's okay to get this wrong. We're just practicing. Okay, so step 1, ignore your variables. Boop, did that. Step 2, label. All right, so the fold is between 30 and 90. So here's the fold, so that's x radical 3. The other two sides, the short side would be x, and the long side would be 2x. So hopefully you labeled that correctly. Step number 3, solve for x. Set the side number, 21, equal to what you labeled as, x. Oh, sweet, x is already solved for. So now we're going to take this and we're going to plug it back into wherever we saw x. So this will go right back to 21. This would be 2 times whatever x was, which was 21. 2 times 21 is 42. And over here, it would be whatever x is times radical 3. So that'd be 21 radical 3. All right, awesome. Okay, so now that you found those, we're going to take these 3 things, these 3 side lengths, and we're going to plug it back into the pretty picture. So this side would still be 21. This side right here would be 21 radical 3. And this side right here would be 42. So I'll put equals 42. Now, please notice that this protective barrier has saved us from thinking that this y was 21 radical 3. It's not. It was actually 42. That's why we made this protective barrier. Very important. Okay, and now your final step. Match the side lengths to your ignored variables. This side was a black x. This side also equaled 14 radical 3. This side was a black y. This side also equaled 42. And this side right here was a black z. This side also equaled 21 radical 3. And those are your final answers. All right, excellent. So great job on that part. And remember, it's okay to get these wrong. We're just going to keep trying over and over again and fix our mistakes as we go along, and we'll get better and better as time goes. So it's totally okay. Just trust yourself. Because remember, what we're building up to are these problems, like on page 8. And look at that. Those are going to be multiple choice. That's going to be really, really nice. That's going to make our lives a lot easier. So we're just building up to that idea right there. All right, let's keep going. So now, can everyone please go to page 13? Everyone's going to page 13. All right, so we are on page 13. And the first thing we're going to do is just do a nice little refresher. So we're going to do a nice little refresher here. So if we look at this idea right here, so trigonometry is how to find missing angles or missing sides on a right triangle. So first of all, let's do some vocabulary words. The first thing is this circle with a horizontal line is called theta. Theta means angle. So that's where an angle goes. We are usually dealing with degrees, but that could also be radians, but we are only going to be dealing with degrees. And then on here, what we do is now I put colors on here just to help you out so it'd make more sense. So in this case, all right, so if you put your finger on the 90, boop, the one side I'm not touching is H. I'm touching green and red. So the one color I'm not touching, yellow, would be H. Now put your finger on the theta. So here's the theta, whatever the angle is. I'll put my finger on here, and the one side you're not touching will be O. So I'm touching green and yellow. The one side I'm not touching is O. And the leftover side would have to be A. So please notice when you put your finger on the theta, you're laughing at it. Ha, 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 ha. So you have HA for ha. Okay, now what if your theta wasn't up here? What if it was down here on B? All right, same steps. Put your finger on the 90, and the two sides you're touching are not the ones we want. We want the one side we're not touching, and that will be H. Now put your finger on the theta, in this case down here. I'm touching yellow and red. What's the one side I'm not touching? That'll be green, and that would be O. So notice that H was the same on both of them, but when I switched my thetas, when I switched where my theta was located, the O and the A switched. So notice that. Okay, and also notice that when you put your finger on the theta, wherever it may be, you're laughing at it. Ha, 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 ha. I don't know why that helps you, but hey, have at it. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to practice labeling H, O, and A. So we've done this before right here on page 14. We've practiced this before of labeling that HOA, and we just talked about it a second ago as well. All right, so what you guys are going to do is I want you guys to go to page 16. So on page 16, I want you guys to label H, O, and A. So you're going to pause the video, just like what we did a second ago. I want you to go to page 16, numbers 2 through 7. I want you to label H, O, and A. And here are some examples. So pause the video and label H, O, A on 2 through 7. All right, so you guys should have labeled those. Let's see if you guys got them right. Okay, so here we go. So put your finger on the 90. Here's your H. Put your finger on the theta. And remember, you should be laughing when you're done. So this is O, because I'm not touching that. And the leftover side is A. So there's HOA. Please make sure you're putting these in the correct spots. All right, let's go to 3. All right, I put my finger on the 90. The one side I'm not touching is H. Put your finger on the theta. The one side you're not touching is O, and the leftover side is A. And when you're done, you should be laughing. Ha, 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 ha. Okay, cool. Now let's go to number 4. All right, so on number 4, okay, put your finger on the 90. The one side you're not touching is H. Put your finger on the theta. The one side you're not touching is O, and the leftover side is A, and you better be laughing at the end. Yes, I am. All right. On number 5, put your finger on the 90. The one side I'm not touching is H. Put your finger on the theta. The one side I'm not touching is O, and the leftover side is A, and you should be laughing at the end. All right. Number 6, put your finger on the 90. The one side I'm not touching is H. Put your finger on the theta. The one side I'm not touching is O, and your leftover side is A, and you should be laughing at the end, and I am. And number 7, put your finger on the 90. The one side I'm not touching is H. Put your finger on the theta. The one side I'm not touching is O, and the leftover side is A, and you should be laughing at the end. Fabulous. Okay, hopefully each day you're getting a little better, just a little better each and every time. All right, so we got that down. So now that we have labeled HOA on page 16, we got a nice little refresher. So now we got that step down. So of the trig functions, we have step 1, label HOA. So that one seems pretty solid. Okay, so now we're going to go to the next steps. So can everyone please go back to page 13? So we're going back to page 13, wherever that page may be. There it is. All right, so we're back to page 13. Okay, so on page 13, SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA. We're on page 13. SOHCAHTOA. Now, SOHCAHTOA is an acronym. It is not a Native American. I thought that for years. Didn't understand why my teacher kept talking about it. But SOHCAHTOA was actually an acronym. And what it stands for is sine of theta. So put a circle with a horizontal line in there. Sine of theta equals O over H. That is opposite over hypotenuse. So opposite over hypotenuse. That's what it stands for. So sine of theta equals O over H. So S is sine of theta. O goes on the top, and then the H goes on the bottom. That's what that stands for. Same thing here. Cos. So ca. So cos of theta. And then that is A over H. So adjacent over hypotenuse. So A over H. And then TOA. T stands for tan of theta. So you always have to remember the theta there. And then OA. So it'll be O on the top and A on the bottom. And that's what SOHCAHTOA stands for. So this acronym, SOHCAH or TOA, it's how to remember this acronym right here. So we're going to remember that forever. So now let's talk about these. Before we even start, we're going to redraw this triangle. Just a nice little miniature version of it. There should be two on here, but there was a typo. All right, so that's A, here's B, and here's C. So I'm just redrawing this. And there was 12, 5, and 13. So we're just doing this twice here. All right, so here we go. On this one, this right here, this is what your theta is. Remember, theta is this right here. So this is my theta. So I'm going to put theta at A, only on this problem right here. So theta is at A. Now, if that's true, what would be your H, O, and A? That is my question. So if we had our theta right here, what would be your H, O, and A? So I put my finger on the 90. This would be my H, which is 13. Put your finger on the theta. This will be my O, which is 5. And the leftover side, A, would be 12. And notice that when I'm done, I'm laughing. Ha, 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 ha. All right, so now we have H, O, and A right there. All right, fabulous. Now, while we're at it, why don't we go ahead and find HOA for C? See, this one has C, so put theta at C. And notice that theta can only be these numbers. It can never, ever be B. Your theta cannot ever be your 90-degree angle. It's not allowed. So your theta, these right here, cannot be B. Doesn't work. So in this case, HOA, if your HOA was C this time, so that would be H, your theta right here, I put my finger on that, my O would be 12, and my leftover side would be 5, and that would be A. So my H was 13, my O was 12, and my A was 5. Now please notice, your H stayed the same for both of them, but your OA, they switched. All right, fabulous. All right, now let's talk about SOHCAHTOA. So we're going to make fractions. For sine of A, that was O over H. So what were the numbers? O over H. Your O was 5, and your H was 13. So that's 5 over 13. And can we simplify that? No, we can't, so we're stuck with that. We're happy. All right, how about cos? Your cos, that is A over H, because that's ka. So SOHCAHTOA, right? So ka, that'd be cos of theta equals A over H. So that'd be A, which is 12, over H, which is 13. And we're as simplified as we can get. All right, your tan, that is TOA. That's O over A. So that'd be 5 over 12. I'm going to write this here. SOHCAHTOA. So that way I can zoom in just a little better. So I'm going to zoom this in. There we go. That's a lot better. So we just made this a lot larger. So we're just going to be basing it off of this. All right, sweet. Now let's go over to the theta being C this time. All right, so we're going to go sine, which is so. That is O, 12, over H, which is 13. Okay, cosine, that's ka. That's A over H. So that'd be 5 over 13. A over H is 5 over 13. And then tan, that is TOA. That's O over A. So that'd be 12 over 5. All right, fabulous. All right, so far so good. You're like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just plugging numbers in. That's exactly where you need to be. You're doing great. So just be patient with yourself. You're doing fabulous. All right, now here is the key thing I need you guys to know when you do this. So if I asked you for sine of A, the answer would be just this. Agreed? So if I said, hey, go find sine of A, you would just give me that fraction. Awesome. Now, do you notice that sine of A, which was 5/13, does that equal anything over here? Does this number 5/13 equal anything over here on the other side? It does. Sine of A is equal to cos of C. That's nice. All right, do you notice anything else are equal? Does this equal something else over here? It does. These two are equal. Awesome. And you probably should figure out this right here. If this is 5/12, notice what happened here. It's a reciprocal. They just flipped. So that's really nice. Awesome. So if I never even touch this, you should know immediately that sine of A is equal to cos of C. So the awesome part about this is sine of this equals cos of this, and vice versa. Cos of this theta equals sine of this theta. So that's really nice to know. So sine of this equals cos of this, and sine of this equals cos of this. So that's awesome of those two letters. All right, we're going to skip number 2 because by tomorrow you're going to forget everything I just said, and we're going to try this again tomorrow, and it will sink in a little better. Awesome. Okay, so now that we have that, so that was page 13. Can everyone go to page 14? We're going to page 14. We're going to page 14. So now that we're on page 14, we are going to plug things in. So we're going to page 14. So on page 14, right here, what we're going to do is we're going to do the next couple steps. All right, so what two things were labeled here? What two things? H, O, or A? What two things have something with it? H, O, or A? In this case, O has something with it, and H has something with it. A has nothing here, so we're not going to touch that one. So which one do you think we're going to use? Do you think we're going to do so, ka, or toa? Do you think you're going to do so, ka, or toa? So I'm going to write this actually on a little piece of paper real quick. So, ka, or toa. All right, so we have O and H. Which one has O and H in it? And that would be so. So we're going to write S-O-H. Perfect. Now let's write out the equation. And what I'm doing here is I'm following the steps here. We did labeled HOA, and then which two are labeled? And then now we're going to write the trig function, S-O-H, so, ka, or toa. So let's write down the equation. In this case, it'd be S, which is sine of theta, equals O over H. Okay, so now we have that. So we wrote down the equation, and we just have to plug in now. That's sine of, and make sure you leave space for that fraction. So the theta is 28, the O was X, and the H was 19. And we're going to stop right there. All right, let's go to the next one. On this one, we're going to label, we labeled HOA. Now, what two functions, what two letters, H, O, or A, has something with it? Okay, H has nothing with it, but the O is labeled with something, and the A is labeled with something. So will that be so, ka, or toa? Which one has an A and an O? Nope. That one, toa. So let's just write toa. So that's toa. So that stands for tan of theta equals O over A. And now just plug in. Tan of 41 equals O, which was X, over A, which is 32. All right, let's keep going. All right, number 5. All right, what two are labeled? H, O, or A? So H, O, or A? That would be H and A. O has nothing with it, so we don't want that one. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. All right, which one has H and A? Is it so, ka, or toa? H and A. Nope. Ah, that one. Ca. C-A-H. That stands for cos of theta equals A over H. And now just plug in. Cos of 43 equals A, which is 36, over H, which is X. And we're just going to stop right there. And number 6. All right, which two are labeled H, O, or A? H has something, A doesn't, O does. So A had nothing with it, so we didn't want that one. All right, so which one are we going to use? So, ka, or toa? Which one has H and O? Oh, right there, so. So has H and O in it. So let's write so. That stands for sine of theta. That's what the S stands for. O over H. Now plug in sine. What was your theta? 33 equals O, which was 15, over H, which was X. All right, so we got nice little practice there. So I'll zoom out just in case anyone needs to take a picture real quick. Just pause it if you need to. All right, so this is us doing the first 4 steps. That's all we're doing so far. For the first 4 steps, we labeled HOA. So we labeled HOA, figured out which 2 were labeled. We figured out the trig function and wrote it out, and then finally we plugged in. Perfect. Okay, so now what we want to do is everyone go to page 15. So we're going to page 15. So everyone go to page 15. We're on page 15, and what I want you to do is I want you to pause the video. And I want you guys to find those. So I want you to choose SO, so, ka, or toa. I want you to write down the equation, one of these, and I want you to plug in, for example, like this. All right, so everyone's doing page 15. So pause the video and give those a try. All right, let's see how you guys did. All right, so it's your first time trying this. Let's see how you guys did. No worries. All right, so number 1, so page 15, number 1. You guys should have paused and gave that a try. Let's see how it worked. All right, so step 1, label HOA. Step 2, we're going to figure out the 2 that are labeled. And is that so, ka, or toa? We had toa. That'd be tan of theta equals O over A. Oops, I skipped a step. O over A. And then we're supposed to plug it in. Tan of 55 equals X over 8. There we go. Now I did it. All right. Okay. And this one right here, we have O and H. That is so. That is sine of theta equals over H. That's sine of 67 equals X over 29. All right. Number 3. Okay, we have A and H. That would be ka. That is cos of theta equals A over H. Cos of 16 equals X over 37. All right, number 4. A and O, that's toa. Tan of theta equals O, which is 25. Skipping a step, over A. Tan of 72 equals 25 over X. All right. Okay. And then number 5, we have H and A. That is H and A is ka. That is cos of theta equals A over H. Cos of 64 equals X over 11. And number 6, that is A and O. That's toa. Tan of theta equals O over A. That is tan of 48 equals O, which is X, over A, which is 17. All right, so we found all of those. All right, I'll zoom out just in case that you want to take a picture of that. All right, so we've done all those so far. Perfect. All right, that's page 15. Okay, and we just have a couple more things to do, not too much here. So can everyone go back to page 14? So we're going to go back to page 14. So on page 14, we only have one more thing to do, and then we'll be done. One more. We got this. Okay, so if you look at your Hot Topics page, which is fabulous, on the bottom of your Hot Topics page, you have to make some decisions. Where is your X? Your X, is it on the top, the bottom, or is it with the trig function? So those are three things that could possibly happen. So we're only going to go to this next step here. If the X is on top, we're happy. So this 4, we're going to multiply on the other side. So to get rid of this 4, I just multiply it on the other side, and it looks like this. Okay, if X is on the bottom, we're sad. So we're just going to switch this entire tan of 37 with this X. So all of this and all of this just switch. That's really cross product, but that's basically what's happening. And then over here, if the X is with the trig function, we're just going to get rid of that by doing the inverse. So we take this tan and we put tan to the -1 basically. So that's tan inverse. That's how you say that. Tan inverse of 3/4. So it just moved over here. So what I want you to do is figure out which one, where's X? On the top, the bottom, or with the trig, and then do this next part right here. Okay, so in this case, so here are options, right? Okay, so here are options. Is this one, and I'll just, for number 3. So our number 3 is, just zooming in here, is X on the top? Is it on the bottom? Or is it with the trig function? So X is on the top. So we're happy. So we're just going to multiply this on the other side. So we're going to take this 19, throw it over here. 19 parentheses sine of 28 is equal to X. And that's all you had to do. That's it. You're done. The only thing we have left is to practice with our calculator tomorrow. All right, let's try this one. Is X on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? So is it on the top, the bottom, or with the trig function? This one, we're on the top, so we're happy. We're happy with that. So we're just going to multiply onto the other side. So that'd be 32 tan of 41 is equal to X. All right. Okay, let's go to number 5. Okay, this one right here. So on number 5, okay, on number 5, is X on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? X is on the bottom, so we're sad. So we're going to switch these. So that'd be X equals 36 over cos of 43. All we had to do was switch all of this and all this. And then after that, we just need to put it in the calculator later. All right, and this one right here. Is X on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? Oh, it's on the bottom, so we're sad. So we're going to switch these. So that'd be X equals 15 over sine of 33. All right, I'll zoom out just in case you need to take a picture. All right, so we have this right here. Okay, so now we're going to go to page 15. So we're going to go to page 15. All right, and that's the last thing I want you guys to do today. I want you just to decide if for page 15, numbers 1 through 6, okay, is it on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? And I want you to solve for X. So pause the video and give that a try. All right, so we paused the video, and let's see how you guys did. All right, so we paused the video. Okay, on number 1, so page 15, number 1. So page 15, number 1, is X on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? It's on the top, so we're happy. So we're going to multiply. So that would be 8 times tan of 55 equals X. Perfect. All right. So then over here, okay, let's go ahead and go to number 2. So in number 2, is X on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? It's on the top, so we're still happy. So that'd be 29 times sine of 67 is equal to X. Okay, and I'm just going to make these yellow. so you can see these later. All right, sweet. All right, let's go to the next step. All right, so number 3. All right, so on number 3, is x on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? The x is on the top, so we're still happy. Man, we have a lot of happy equations here. So this would be 37 parentheses cos of 16 equals x. Okay, very nice, very nice. All right, let's go to number 4. So on number 4, okay, is x on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? Ooh, it's on the bottom, isn't it? So we're sad. So we're going to switch these. So for number 4, we get x equals 25 over tan of 72. I'm just going to highlight that. All right, and then number 5. All right, so on number 5 right here, okay, is x on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? Okay, so it's on the top, so we're happy, so we're just going to multiply. 11 times cos of 64 equals x. And finally, we have number 6. All right, so on number 6, we have, is x on the top, the bottom, or with the trig? It's on the top, so we're happy. So we're going to multiply. So it'd be 17 times tan of 48 equals x. And that's your final answer. So I'll zoom out here in a second, just so you can see all the final answers. Okay, there you go. All right, hopefully that helped you guys out. You guys did a great job here, and we're just going to keep getting better each day. So have a great and wonderful day. Bye-bye.